This might not come to a shock to the majority of you, but there's one author in the YA world who I have adored for 3-4 years, maybe even longer. That's quite scary to think. This author I've had the pleasure of meeting at signings, who has even come to my hometown to film with me, and I have gone into London to film with her. And I just want to give you some clues as to who I love the most by showing you what is on the floor in front of me, but also explaining that this video I'm going to be filming with her, filming with the team at Penguin who helped put together her new series, and I want you guys to come along with me. We're going to go to London, see an event, see friends, see food, see drink, and see books. So stick around. But should we reveal who this author is? I think we should. So, you may have heard of this author by a trilogy that actually won awards in the World Guinness Record Book. The Half-Bad series, I mean, I don't know if you've seen these, but I just in case you haven't, I have 3 copies of each to remind you who this author might be. Oh, do you need more of a hint? Maybe these American editions might give you more of a hint. Half-Bad, have you heard of this before? Oh, if that didn't work, what about some American hardback? Oh no, maybe these English special editions might help trigger your memory as to who I'm talking about. Yes, your guesses are correct. I am talking about Sally Green, my favourite young adult author of all time, author of the best-selling Half-Bad trilogy, and there's a reason why we're filming today. Let me just put these mountains of her work down before they break my arms under their strenuous weight. Sally Green has just launched her new series, and that is called The Smoke Thieves, and I am going up to London in this video to go and film with her all about this new series and introduce you into the world of The Smoke Thieves. Now, I am just going to pre-premise this video by saying if you are a fan of Game of Thrones, then this is definitely for you. This series will not disappoint. But how about I leave it up to the incredible team at Penguin to help describe why you should check this out. And in fact, let's ask the author herself, shall we? Ready for some time travel? Let's go! So I made it to London and I am here with Sally Green, author of The Smoke Thieves, which I have already told you guys all about, but my words aren't as good as Sally's. So I think we should just crack straight on and go with the first question, which is describe The Smoke Thieves in your elevator pitch. How do you describe it in your short pitch?
There is no. This is a long elevator ride. Okay, it's a complicated story. It's told, as we see on here. There's five characters: princess, soldier, hunter, traitor, thief, and it's told from those 5 points of view. It's not the famous 5. They're not a big team working together. These are 5 individuals from different parts of this fantasy world. It's a fantasy story. I need at least 1 elevator ride for each character, to be honest, because they've each got their own story. The smoke in the Smoke Thieves title is what comes out of a demon when you kill it. And it's illegal to kill demons. It's illegal to go into demon territory because they're so dangerous. But one of the characters, the demon hunter Tash, she goes in there, she kills a demon, and they collect the demon smoke with the intention of selling it because it's a pleasure drug. It gives you a high. But actually, there's something slightly different about the purple demon smoke. The story is actually a bit of a detective novel as well, because each of the characters finds a different clue to something about the demon smoke and what. It's only when all the 5 characters come together towards the end of the story that Princess Catherine works out what's really going on, and shock horror, what is she going to do about it? So yeah, there's a detective story, there's lots of action, there's lots of fun, really 5 different storylines that converge. It's been a challenge to write.
And a pleasure to read.
Oh,
it seriously is a pleasure to read. And for those who've read the Half-Bad series, you do still get that Sally Green-esque style, but it's also so unique and new in its own right. I mean, when I was reading it, I was so getting the Game of Thrones vibes, and I think it helped that I was watching the TV show as I was watching it, but as I was reading it. But there's just something about reading about these different characters' points of view and how they all come together and kind of why they come together. That's my favourite part. So you've got to read this book for the end, which is normally what you do when you read books, but you'll get it if you read the book. This question I have is one that I really, really wanted to ask you, is because last time we met each other, I asked you what you're writing next, and you kind of started to tell me about this fantasy story, but very
very briefly. So I kind of want to know where this story came to you, because it is so unique and yet something that a lot of readers will really connect with and like. And I think at the moment, you know, we have so many tropes that we see in book, which are really enjoyable to see. But for me in this book, it just felt like a really unique snack. So yeah, just tell us where the idea came from.
To be honest, I struggled. I knew I wanted to write fantasy in that I wanted somebody like a witch or a vampire, but I've done witches and vampires have been done before. So I picked demons just because they came to me that, oh right, let's pick demons. I started off actually with a father and son demon hunting team, which sounded like a great idea. Still think it's a great idea. But I'd done father and son in Half Bad quite a bit. I struggled, and actually it was only when I came up with the thought of what am I really interested in? What issues are really getting me fired up at the moment? And that is the issue of a strong female character. I really wanted to write my version of a strong character, and that's Princess Catherine. And so I started writing from her point of view. And that's when I thought, oh yeah, I've got something here. She's just great. She's privileged because she's a princess, but she's a second-class citizen because she's female. She's no rights. She's not even allowed to speak. She's a virtual prisoner in the castle with her father. And she's been married off to a foreign prince. She's got no say in the matter in her own life. So I just really wanted to explore her journey, that where she begins to realise, actually, I want more than this, and I can do a lot more than this. She's intelligent, she's very brave, and she's very ambitious. So yeah, she was the starting point. And I did want to bring in issues that are, you know, are relevant. That's a very relevant issue, I think. But equally, March is a different character. He's sort of being radicalised, and he's, you know, lost his family, lost his whole race of people have been wiped out, and he's huge, you know, got a huge amount of anger about that. But he is trying to find a way out for that. And also, I think one of the big themes for me, or something that I keep sort of recognising in the story, is the friendships. They've each got people they rely on, and or are developing friendships. And I know I didn't really start out with that intention, but I was sort of really realising how important those relationships are to each of the characters.
Absolutely, and it definitely comes across, especially with Princess Catherine. Like you mentioned earlier, you said about how they all have their own story and they all have their own arc and they're all doing their own thing. And something that, as a reader, is really pleasurable is when you're reading books with multiple different points of view, when they all have a conflict, and when the conflicts overlap, but they're also dealing with their own things, keeps the reader turning and turning. And something also I liked, just to point out, is like the chapters are really good sizes, so like you can really get through as many as you want to in the reading. So yeah, no, I really like Princess Catherine, and I think as well you definitely see the issues and the topics that you're trying to tackle in this book, and you're able to see it from like a new perspective as well. Now this is a question I also really want to ask, which is a reoccurring theme, but like I said earlier, I get very much a Game of Thrones vibes, and I think the only reason I get those vibes is because there is such an eclectic cast of characters. They're all different ages, they're all from different backgrounds, and you get to see them dealing with different topics themselves, like we do on the TV show. But as we've spoken about many times before, in Half Bad, I asked you, had you read any of the witch books? Did they lead in to inspire Half Bad? And you were like, nope, I'm not reading witch books. I'm going to focus on this series. So I want to know, when you were writing this, did you read up other books for, you know, inspiration or to get in the mindset, or did you again stay away from the kind of epic fantasy genre? Did you stay away from the epic fantasy genre?
No, I didn't read. I've read a little bit of Game of Thrones. I don't think I finished the first book, and I watched a few of the programmes, but I've not even watched the first series. I've read some fantasy books, and I think, you know, like everyone, even from childhood, you know, fairy stories have fantasy elements to them. So I got that growing up, but I didn't use those as research, and I do try to avoid, when I know I'm tackling something, I actually do try to avoid it even more, because I don't want to be influenced. And I was really conscious with this, that I wanted to come up with my version of things. So certainly, and I'm writing the second book at the moment, and I'm particularly we're going into the demon world in the second book. And I really wanted to develop that in a way that was new, and every time I sort of thought, oh no, that's been done before, I've got to think of something different. So I've really tried to push myself. So I try to avoid being influenced. Some people call it lazy, but I don't.
No, I don't.
But I do
lazy.
research other things.
Yes.
As I did for Half Bad, I researched for that, but not necessarily in the way you might expect. I certainly didn't read witch books. I read a lot of war books for that. And for this one, I did quite a bit of research into female rulers. So Elizabeth I, Catherine the Great were a big influence, and I read quite a lot about them, which was fascinating. And actually, the most important thing made me think, at first you think, oh gosh, she's only 16, Catherine. Would she really do this? Well, yeah, I read Catherine the Great. She really did do that at this age. She was amazing. So yes, it is.
Well, I mean, when we spoke about the Half Bad thing before, and I kept bringing up the question of, do you read witch books? Do you read witch books? Now, after writing my first book, I completely understand that I'm staying away from elves. I don't want to be doing anything. So
don't
I
go
completely
near the
get it,
elves.
because otherwise it's all Tolkien. So no, I completely understand. And I really wanted to ask that one, although I knew the answer. But you could 100% write an episode of Game of Thrones, because just the conflict and the style and the characters was so good. And there was funny moments, and then there was like dark moments, and then there was like swoon-worthy moments. So you kind of like ticked every single emotion in one book. I think you've answered this one, but you might not have, because I want to know who your favourite character was to write from. I love Tash. I really love Tash.
There were two or rather Tash and Edion are the light-hearted characters, and I have to admit, whenever I came to writing them, I thought, oh great, because I love all of them, and Catherine probably is my favourite character, but writing her chapters was really hard work emotionally and intellectually, because there's lots of complicated issues with her, whereas a Tash chapter was just joy. It's straightforward. She wants some boots. She wants some money. It was just really, a sort of simple task to achieve in writing her, and it was also fun. And then there's Edion, who's I think I'm just so pleased I came up with him as a character. He's a joy. He's a lover, not a fighter. He's a student. He's charming and witty, and he's also this impulsive thief, kleptomaniac. So he lands himself in trouble. So it was just fun, silliness, and which was a joy after some of the other chapters, which can get quite dark. So yeah, I always love turning to them. And the nice thing is now I'm writing, certainly probably about halfway through, and certainly now I'm writing the second book, I know all the characters really well now, so I can just do them, if you see what I mean. At first you've got to learn about them and how they're going to work, but I know them so well now that I can write them relatively easily and put my Edion hat on and become him and write that. So it becomes even easier, and it's great.
And the reason why I like Tash so much is what you said, is she is really fun, but she adds the youthful element to it. And being 13, just that whole difference from the dark nature, she does bring a new perspective into it. Like, I just want to do this for some boots. Like, I'm not in it for the maliciousness. I'm not in it. I generally just want the boots. So yeah, that's why I like her a lot. So can't wait to see her in book 2 and 3 and 4 if you're writing 4.
Yeah, she will keep going. She will keep running. She's great. Yeah.
So to round this portion of the video up, I want to ask, what can we expect with book 2? So we're going into the demon world, but like in the non-spoilery, of course. But yeah, what can we expect? Maybe in a couple of words.
Well, it carries on really pretty much from the day after the first book finishes. So I've carried on from what happens at the end of book 1, and the characters. So at the end of book 1, they're pretty much all together. So they might split up, and there's a lot more demons, and we learn a lot more about the demon world, which is completely freaky, and it's but there's a lot more political stuff. There's a few more new characters, of course, because I can never stop coming up with new characters, and yeah, a lot more adventure.
I like the sound of that one. I'm glad we get to go in straight away from the end of book 1 and get some more answers. And the demon world, I'm getting like a very psychedelic feel from it, and I'm not quite sure why, but I'm very excited about it. So thanks so much for coming and chatting with me, and I'm going to be talking to a couple of people who helped piece together the book and asking them what they think about Smoke Thieves, which of course is they're going to love. And yeah, don't sit on this book, guys. Go get it. It's a full snack. So thank you very much, Sally.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks. Introduce yourself and what part you played in the Smoke Thieves coming out in paperback.
Hi, I'm Sophia. So I work in publicity, and my job is to make sure that as many people as possible get to read The Smoke Thieves when it publishes.
Hi, I'm Tig Wallace. I'm an editor here at Penguin Random House, and I've been working on Sally Green's The Smoke Thieves.
So I'm Rebecca and I'm an editor at Penguin Audio. So we look after all the children's books, we look after Press General, and we look after Michael Joseph as well. So lots of variety.
Very cool. And describe the book in your own words. How would you like tell a reader to pick it up?
Smoke Thieves is an epic fantasy book set in a world with different warring kingdoms. It's told from the point of view of 5 different very different characters who are all on different sides of the conflict but come together in the end, but all of their perspectives are completely unique. And then underlying that, the story of these 5 characters is this mysterious demon smoke, which is kind of like this illegal contra that's on the black market, and sort of magical, mystical, unknown powers that you're going to have to read about to find out.
Smoke Thieves is an epic fantasy series in the sort of vein of Leigh Bardugo or Game of Thrones, but with Sally's own inimitable style. It's about warring kingdoms and romance. There's warfare and fighting and danger, and at its centre is this mysterious smoke that our 5 protagonists are trying to uncover the secrets of.
Smoke Thieves is very epic fantasy, everything you want in a sort of historical fantasy book. A little bit Games of Thrones, a little bit YA. It's just this perfect mixture of romance, adventure, betrayal. Got a big war arc in it as well. It's basically got everything for fantasy lovers. It's a really brilliant plot.
Wow, time travel, new hair, new outfit, same story. So those were the team working behind the book, and next you see some footage of me filming Sally after a glass of wine.
Sally Green is amazing, and her sass is the best and on point.
Hold on, Queen. Oh, he makes appearances. You gotta read The Smoke Thieves. So there you have it. There is the video which I did with Sally Green. If you guys like the sound of this book, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It means I can make other videos like this and shows other publishers that you guys like watching it, and I find it really fun to make them. So check out The Smoke Thieves. I will leave the links, all necessary links down below. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon for another video. Bye bye.